We are currently sitting with former Montreal Canadian, Chicago Blackhawk, and Detroit Red Wing, 3-time Stanley Cup winner, 3-time Norris Trophy winner, Olympic silver medalist, 8th most career NHL games, most playoff games in league history. This is my favorite one. 12th all-time in PIMS.
Sick.
Well done. Tied with Mr. Hockey Gordie Howe for most NHL seasons at 26, and a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame, Chris Chelios. Welcome to the Empty Netters podcast.
Thank you, guys.
Boom.
Good to have you.
Awesome.
Great to have you here. This is an absolute blast. How you feeling? How you feeling being in Nashville?
I'm good. I'll just start off with the bang. Connor Bedard. We got first pick overall.
How about it, huh?
We got bragging rights, so it's exciting for obviously the city and our team, and then to have it in a place like Nashville and have Bedard, as number one, it's going to be a fun night for us.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, well, while we're talking draft, you went 40th overall, 81 to the Habs. What do you remember about that? Like, what was your draft night like compared to what's going down down today?
It started out with me, I was playing in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and I was playing with two guys, Gord Flagel and Jim Archibald, played a little bit in the Minnesota North Stars. But we all three grabbed a case of beer each, and we drove down. Back then, I didn't have any money, first of all. It wasn't really a tradition to go to the draft. We didn't even know if we were get drafted, quite honestly. So we decided we're going to take the case of beers. It was a beautiful day. We went and parked by some water out down in Moose Jaw somewhere, and just listened to the radio until I was the first one to go. Archie got picked second, and unfortunately Flagel never got drafted, so that was kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah, that kills the
for
vibe.
the afternoon. But and then it continued, and we went the Moose Jaw. They decided they're going to throw they called them cabarets or socials, which is basically a party.
Yeah.
And they had it at one of these convention halls for us that night. They just put it together within, 3-4 hours, just because they knew they'd never see us again.
Yeah.
And the night ended with me totaling a car. Didn't get hurt, thank God.
There we go. Yeah.
I'll keep the details out, but it was probably the best and worst day. I had to leave Moose Jaw the next day so I wouldn't get caught.
Can't return. You can't go back.
Do you remember what kind of car it was?
Yeah, oh yeah. My friend Mike Drager is my teammate's car. I asked him to borrow it to go pick someone up, and it was a Monte Carlo.
Oh my God, dude.
77 Monte Carlo. But we reported it stolen, got away with it, and the rest was history. So, it was a hell of a draft day.
Yeah.
But again, I knew I was going to get drafted. That's the one thing, because either Chicago had talked to me, Edmonton had talked to me. Didn't realize I was going to go as high as I did, quite honestly.
Sure.
Coming out of Tier 2, but again, being American, growing up where I did and coming from San Diego, real lucky that it happened.
Yeah. Were you psyched? You had a crazy come up with the youth hockey you played, then in and out of college stuff, and playing juniors. And was it, when that came up, when you knew you were going to get drafted because some teams were talking to you, were you like, I'm all in on this, I'm going to go to the NHL? What was going through your head?
Honestly, my goal was to just get a college scholarship, and I didn't care if it was in baseball or hockey.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'd moved out to San Diego at the age of 15, and that kind of killed hockey.
Yeah.
Really didn't play for 2 years other than senior leagues, with older men.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
I skated a lot, but nothing competitive. And then I met, I don't know if it's the story, I met a kid on a beach. His name was Bobby Parker, and ended up being his partner in Moose Jaw for 2 years because he quit going to the university in San Diego. But once I saw the light, I watched Western Canada League with, Wickenheiser was the big name back then, Doug Wickenheiser. And then I figured, I didn't even know how the draft worked. American kids didn't have any idea once they were done with midget. They really didn't know the junior leagues in Canada. At least I didn't, and no one in Chicago did. But once you see these kids getting drafted, then 2 years later you see them in the pro. I got drafted. I'm thinking, geez, if I go to college, maybe I do have a shot. At least I'm going to get a tryout to go to an NHL camp, which was Montreal. And once I got chosen for the Olympic team, I had a really good feeling that at least I'd get a legitimate shot. Whether I made it or not, that was up to me, and I got lucky.
Yeah, no doubt. Did it at the time? Obviously, now you think about teams like the Habs, teams like the Maple Leafs. They have those crazy fan bases. Did you feel any of that pressure getting drafted by the Habs back then?
Or were you like, 80s? I don't want to go to Canada?
Or were you like, whatever?
No, because like I said, I didn't know what to expect when I got drafted. I'd never been in Montreal. Other than that, I tried out for a junior team there the year before I went to Moose Jaw and got cut. So all I remember is that bus ride from Hawkesbury all the way back to San Diego. But
wait, you took a
That's
bus all the way
miserable.
from there?
and ran out of money in Detroit, borrowed money from somebody in the Detroit bus station, and then got the rest of the way home. Yeah.
Freshly
Christ.
cut too.
Yeah.
You get on that ride,
that is
freshly
a
cut.
savage bus ride home.
Yeah, and I, quite honestly, when I got to Montreal, I had hurt my ankle in the Olympics. So
Yeah.
I watched the first 5 games, and the Canadians were 4th place, 5th place, fighting for a playoffs, and they were booing Larry Robinson. They were booing Bob Gainey. I'm going, this seems
Fuck
like
this
a tough
place,
place
dude.
to play. If someone misses a pass, they boo him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I figured it out quick, listening to the radio and the tension, and then I compared it to the Yankees, how they have to deal with their media in New York. And the one thing I really didn't understand was the separatists, where Quebec was actually trying to separate from Canada.
Right.
And I'm English and American, getting caught up in that too, where home fans actually hated you because you were English or American.
You can't speak
So
French, right?
But the hockey part, like I thank God that I broke in with a team with that type of history and learned from Bob Gainey, learned from Larry Robinson. I play with Guy Lafleur, which is it's embarrassing. It makes me sound even more old, but I got to learn from some of the greatest players what it means to be a professional. And I got to sit with Maurice Richard and Henry Richard. So
Unreal.
I listened and I absorbed everything, and I got lucky that had I broken in with Chicago or some team like that, like Eddie Olczyk,
Yeah.
I would have had a tough time, adjusting to that
sure.
without the leadership that I was taught with.
For sure. That makes sense.
Amazing.
What do you think about the draft now? I mean, it must be crazy looking at how much exposure these guys get.
Yeah.
We were laughing yesterday. We went to media, and it's wild seeing these kids sitting at these little podiums with 1,000 microphones stuffed in their face. They're 18 years old. You can see the pimples on their cheeks.
Yeah.
And then Connor comes out and he's got a whole room to himself with an entire panel. And it's just nuts to me to think, you get drafted, you're saying you're drinking a case
You
of
found
beer
out
with
you
your
got drafted
buddies.
on the radio.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like a rack
Sure.
of beer.
Yeah.
And
That's
now
insane.
it's like Connor Bedard has 500,000 followers on Instagram already, and he's not even in the league yet. It's like the way it's changed in the exposure is crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess at his age, at 17, we all know social media is such a big part of our society. So it's probably nothing to him to just,
Right,
see
yeah.
whatever he wants, whatever's being said about him, and he's going to probably have a staff, an entourage around him just to for that part only.
Yeah.
But I think that the NHL's learned from the NFL what they do. That's such a big deal, that NFL draft, and they've been doing it for years.
For sure.
And every year it just seems to get bigger and better. But I've never seen so much hype over a first pick overall in my life. And I mean, that a lot of added pressure. He seems to handle it. I saw him on the telecast with Biz and those guys. During the finals, and he seems to have a good head on his shoulders.
Great, right?
And I think he'll be fine. But at the end of the day, it's still, there's pressure and there's distractions. I thought I had thick skin, but we talked about Montreal earlier and the pressure and stuff. Once in a while, it gets to you, and you don't leave the house, and that's no fun.
Yeah,
You
seriously.
know when to leave the house. You lose, you just stay in. You win, maybe you go out to a restaurant or a bar once in a while. But like I said, he's I don't know. I'm not going to say I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, but and I look at Jack Hughes. What happened his first year? He had, it was an adjustment for him.
Definitely.
And then look
Biggest
what he
bust
did last
ever, yeah.
season. So I think he's going to be fine. Quite honestly, I've only seen the highlights.
Yeah.
Every highlight's an unbelievable goal, so it's hard to judge a kid like that. But
Right.
he's got everything it takes to be a superstar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that topic, so you're in Montreal. You become the first American captain of the Habs, which is what an awesome notch on the belt. Then you get traded to Chicago, hometown team. How did that feel? Like, was that something that because I always wonder, you go to an original 6 team in Montreal, you have an incredible career there, you win a cup there, you're the captain, then you get traded to your hometown team. Was it bittersweet, or were you just pumped? Like, what did it feel like going back home and playing for the Hawks?
Yeah, honestly, totally unexpected. I was getting traded. No idea it was going to happen. Serge Savard was a GM at the time, and he supported me. There's pressure from other things, and then when you lose in Montreal, someone's going to pay. And it was just the player's turn, and I don't know if it had anything to do with American or English captain. That it was in the media though, again, because the French media would always go against the American media, and they supported each other. And it's unfortunate that that's the way it is, because it's hard to get guys to go up there now because of it. But had I gone anywhere else, and I was this close to going to Winnipeg for Dale Howard, Chuck, but Serge on the phone call, he said, "Look, I could have traded you to Winnipeg, but I sent you home." And the conversation, I didn't know what to say. I go, Okay, and I hung up on Serge. So, to answer your question, I couldn't have been happier to be going home. I'd been gone for a long time. Nobody knew where I went. Once I left Chicago to move to San Diego for my last 2 years of high school.
Yeah.
And then I popped up in the Olympics, and they're going, Jesus Christ, it's got to be him.
Is that our boy? Yeah.
Chelios.
Yeah.
And then when I made it in Montreal, and I thought I was going to get drafted by Chicago, but I didn't want to leave Montreal. I loved
Really?
it.
Okay.
But the only thing that that saved that trade was that I was going home, and that Mike Keenan was there. He supported me, and from the day one, the first game, I had a goal, assist, and a fight.
Yeah.
And it just went uphill.
Yeah.
We won the President's Trophy that year. We
Yeah,
didn't do well
hell
in
yeah.
the playoffs, but it helped that we were winning for sure.
Yeah.
And so it was a worst and best day of my life, kind of like when you buy a boat, right?
Or like when you get drafted and then total a
Yeah,
car.
yeah,
You've got a bunch of those. It's unbelievable.
$300 deductible is pretty good.
Compare those cities in terms of the fan, like when in the pressure, like you're saying, in Montreal they boo a missed pass. Were you guys feeling that in Chicago too, or was it a little different?
Well, like I said, my first year we won the President's Trophy. We had some strong
Not much to
teams.
boo about, yeah.
And the Chicago fans are tough, but not as knowledgeable. So if you're losing the game and you go out and hit someone or fight someone, they're going to forgive you. So most of my penalty minutes, you mentioned that earlier, were not quality. They were just at the end of a game to give the fans something to go home and talk about in the car. But again, it was a different type of pressure. But Montreal, the difference was you couldn't hide. You couldn't walk the streets.
Cool.
You couldn't go anywhere.
Sure.
Chicago, you just blend in, and it was a much better, relaxed feeling for me. I was as intense as anybody, but I didn't like the attention off the ice. And when you're young and someone's giving you shit, yelling at you for the game the night before, that didn't happen in Chicago ever. So that was probably the biggest difference.
Do you feel like it because of that, or at least in part because of that, it was a better experience playing in Chicago than Montreal?
Not necessarily better, but for me, it's motivation to be better. It puts that pressure on you, but obviously some guys can't handle it. And I see there's a lot of guys, Canadian teams, they haven't won the Cup since, 93?
Yeah.
They know about that now, these kids. They don't need, like Austin Matthews.
I was just about to say,
example. And the media should back off on these guys. And I think they've started to realize that, because it's added pressure you don't need, and they get personal, which is the worst thing, to any athlete.
Yeah.
If you start getting personal and just, it's opinions, not fact, and rumors and stuff like that. So I use it as a motivator. Like I said, I had thick skin. So for the most part, I could shake off everything. But when it became personal, I don't care who you are. It's unnecessary, a lot of that stuff.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. What do you think Connor can expect? Is going to Chicago, playing for this, amazing franchise. And what an interesting time, too, because we had Taves and Kane come through and, totally revive the organization, win a few cups, and now they're leaving and Bedard stepping in. What do you think
frankly, he's not going to have the luxury of a huge leadership core like you
that's
had,
true.
Kermit. So what do you think that's going to be like for him?
Well, he doesn't have that yet, but now we made those 2 trades for
Halsey.
Great. Yeah.
He's got a center to play with, and maybe now they're just the fans. The ticket sales went up.
I saw that.
After the draft. So maybe they're thinking, and I'm just as a fan, I'm thinking, well, maybe they're going to be more aggressive now, and they're going to try signing some guys.
Yeah.
There's still some, to talk about Max Domi coming back, who would be a great fit for Bedard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
To play on the line with him. He finished off really well with Dallas and Chicago previously. But it just remains to be seen. But the fans, they're looking back, when we got Taves, Kane, Seabrook,
definitely.
Keith, and they're having that. Now you have hope. You got that first pick overall. And Kyle Davidson said it, though. It's a great start for the rebuild.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
But they do need to surround him with some talent. And, again, I don't know if Taylor Hall's the answer, but at least it's someone that can get him in the puck. And because you don't want you want to put him in a position to succeed, not fail. And I don't care who he is or how great he is. You have to be surrounded. He's going to make players around him better also, Connor. But he also is going to need some help.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
What do you think about a kid like that? Who we've all seen the highlights, right? He comes in, he looks so flashy. Because I've heard you say before, and I totally agree with the structure has become such a thing in the NHL, right? Like coaches are like, it's less like go be creative and make your own mistakes. It's now like be here at the right time and do this, do that. With a proven guy, McDavid, go do whatever you want. But with a rookie, do you hope they give him the freedom to be like, go do whatever you want and make mistakes, or is it going to be like all structure at the start of his career?
$1 million question. Like that's the biggest issue. Most coaches, I think, their faults is trust in players.
Yeah.
So at first, he's going to have the longest leash in the world, and he's going to have to be a two-way player.
Yep.
They all are. You see how Vegas wins. They all play the same. They all play D. They all hit. Now, I don't expect Bedard at his size to outrun guys, sure, but finish guys, get in the way, slow them down. But there's no question he's going to have a little bit more of a leash, especially playing wing.
Yeah.
If he takes off and wants to, I call it cherry picking.
Yeah.
Or if I'd like to say it's called anticipating a play. When he sees he has a vision, right? Obviously, just like all the great players. And it looks like a puck's going to get turned over. And Kane's a perfect example.
Yes.
You got to allow him to take off and get behind defensemen and do that. So, it just remains to be seen how patient Luke Richardson's going to be. I think he's going to give him the longest leash in the world to just let him play. And he's going to work hard. The kid works hard, so that's all you can ask of a guy. Just give him a little bit of structure. That's what you do with your great players like that.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to tell the boys in men's league. I'm anticipating. I'm not chilling at the far blue. I'm anticipating.
I'm not floating in the neutral zone.
Christ, I'm anticipating.
I watched Connor McDavid in Detroit and Detroit ended up beating them, but I didn't realize how much he anticipates.
Yeah.
And with his speed, you're not going to catch
him
ever. So, but again, his numbers don't lie. I'd love to see him. His plus minus get a little better for a guy who gets that many points.
Yeah.
But, stick somebody on his line that plays defense.
Yeah, there we go.
Just
get the balance.
You stay back, get it to him, and stay back. That's all.
But you're right. I mean, I think it's interesting. You see guys like Ovechkin. We always talked about that. He was popping 50 goals a season, but his plus minus was terrible. And then he actively worked on that defensive side of the game, and then boom, they win a cup. That is an important thing to kind of grind in. And I think Connor will, step into that role.
Yeah.
So it is. I like the move so far. Halsey's a great winger that he can play with. I think Foligno is such a good locker room guy, such a good leader to surround him with. So the moves are right so far.
And they got the freedom to make moves. There's no one on the roster.
Exactly.
So build the team you want around the kid. That's cool.
But Foligno has that toughness. I don't care what anybody says. And they got Tenorti who will step up for anybody too. But if you don't have that, they'll take advantage of Bedard in a sense, like they did Kane in the beginning until they added that toughness with the Blackhawks did.
Yeah.
So these guys have seen it. They know what they need. Most of the teams now that are winning the cup, they're big, strong, North American style physical teams.
Yeah.
Buffalo's a perfect example. All that skill in the world, but they don't. All their D are mobile and very talented, but they don't play D, and they're not hard to play against.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so accurate.
We're Bruins fans growing up, and it's like we watched them lose a cup. That 2019 Blues Cup, we just got beat up. There were a lot of series that this Bruins team just hasn't quite been tough enough.
In 2013 against the Hawks too.
Yeah.
It's true. It is interesting. I think it's so cool how similar the Bedard situation is to Kane. You just said it, and it is.
What a reboot.
They're relatively similar players, but even just the structure of the team when Kane came in, it does feel slightly reminiscent of that time.
Yeah.
So you're right. They've been through exactly this.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting to see what happens.
Yeah, but at some point the good has to outweigh the bad by a lot. So
a lot.
That's the thing. So like I said, you have to be a two-way player. I don't care now to win. You can't not come back in circle and and some guys are still doing it. That's why they're not winning.
No,
it's so true. Speaking of winning, 3 Stanley Cups to your name. You obviously won one very early in your career, then 2 in Detroit. We were just on this insane tour with the finals, and then I ended up being with the guys for the cup celebrations in Vegas. What was it like in your day? Because I'm so interested with, you won so early, and I want to know what the partying with the cup was like in Montreal, and then especially compared to what it was like in Detroit.
Because these boys in Vegas are on a week-long bender still. So what do you
So
got
give
for
us some war stories. I want to hear what was going on.
Well, Montreal, I was single.
Yeah.
So I'll start with that. So it was
young,
wild.
man. How old were you when you won that one?
Probably 24.
Yeah. Wow. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, and they didn't have the tradition though where you could take the cup out. Now we stole it once from the back of the town car at the Forum, and we only had it for an hour and a half until they figured out what happened. But it was not a tradition to bring the cup home.
The cup is running down the
street.
It's a beautiful
hour and a half.
And LaFleur did the same thing.
Yeah.
He stole the cup and took it to his hometown, and no one knew. But they would take the cup all over the place in Quebec.
Yeah.
But it didn't leave Quebec
Interesting.
once you won it. But it didn't matter because we were going everywhere in the bars without the cup, and it was equally.
And they knew.
Good,
Yeah.
In Montreal, I don't think there's a better place to win the cup.
I can't imagine.
A Canadian city.
Has to be, right?
Vegas must have been something, though. To go down the strip with that.
Yeah, it was a hoot for sure.
But yeah, and it was everything it should be. The parade, over 1 million people. Should have been an hour and a half to get from the east side of town to the Molson or the Forum. But because of the traffic and the people beat up the cars so bad, it took 4 hours. And by then, I hadn't drank. I never drank during the playoffs, so it was a 75-degree sunny day, and me and Tom Curvers were in the same car, and everybody's handing you drinks. So after an hour and a half, I checked out and ran out of film. So I'm just like the living dead, making it all the way to the Forum, but not ever. I couldn't get on the stage, and I felt terrible about it the next day, but I just wasn't ready for it. And it's not like I was going wild. I just hit the wall in the sun.
Yeah.
It's no excuse, but
no, Carlson,
that's an excuse.
Willie Carlson fell out of the bus.
Exactly.
Shit happens.
You're drinking out in the sun, and you, like you said, if people are handing you drinks, it's hard to say no after you just won a cup. That's
And my excuse was I just said someone put something in one of those drinks because he went as far as telling him I got tested the next day. And someone had slipped something in my drink, so I got away with that too. So
there you go.
Car stole
it. It was amazing, in a sense, to see that many people get. I won, NCAA championship, which is pretty big, but nothing. I've never been in a crowd like that with celebrating with 1 million people, and it was special for sure. And then, I thought, geez, I'm going to win a lot of these. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I never won for 17 years. And then fast forward, I got 4 kids. I'm in Detroit. We're an older team, and it was exactly how you'd want it as a father, and have a family, and my parents, and much more laid back. And I've had some great parties, especially the ones out in Malibu.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone shows up, and Tom Hanks shows up. Not invited. It's just word got out in Malibu that the cup was on the beach, and throughout the day, easily 1,000 people walked up to my house, took pictures with it, and it was just for me to see everybody. I sat on my deck and watched everybody. That cup has some effect on people. Even if they didn't know what it was, that trophy is beautiful.
Yes, it is.
And it was something to see my friends and family at that time, because I didn't get a chance to really appreciate it in Montreal with friends and family. It was just me and your teammates.
Yeah,
that was the biggest difference between the 2 times.
Yeah, and you feel like it felt. I mean, obviously with your family there, way more impactful. I bet, right? With getting to share it with your kids.
Parents and my sons were probably they might have been 12 and 10 or 13 and 11. I'm not sure, but they were old enough to understand it, as were my daughters. So the whole tradition of bringing your family on the ice after. We didn't do that in '86, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
It's great how they included the families and the wives and the kids now as much as they do. They started those mom trips and the dad trips.
Yeah, those are awesome. Oh my God. They're reading the lineups.
But again, it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about sharing that with your coaches you've had, and how happy they are for you that you've got it to that level, and then won.
You've got your little crew out there in Malibu, huh?
Yeah.
Like in your little...
We've kind of, we had the Malibu mob for years, and now we're defunct. I think everybody's burnt out. No, we still got a core of them, but it's just hard. I don't get out there as much. I got grandkids, and instead of spending my winters, or my summers, I should say, out there where I used to train in Malibu. That's why I was doing it, to get away. Yeah. Now I'm spending summers in Chicago with the family, and
nice.
And get out there, during the winters occasionally. So it's hard to get everybody together, but it's still John McEnroe and Laird Hamilton.
Yep.
DB Sweeney, Randy Gerber, the guy from Casamigos. We've adopted him, even though he wasn't the original. But it's a fun group. We train together. From mountain biking to surfing to we have lunch together. We eat together 6 days a week.
Yeah, that's so sick.
Different guys' houses, and it was great. I had a mentor. His name was Don Wildman. He passed at 84, but he started Bally's Health Clubs, and he just all he did was work out. This guy. And if you just Google Wildman, his life story is amazing.
Yeah.
And he did it from beginning to end. And this guy, there wasn't anything he wouldn't try as far as training. And when I met him, he was 60, and I started training with him in his gym and mountain biking. And that's when I really physically was so strong. It was crazy, because along with my trainer,
Yeah.
I started doing his, and it just took me to crazy level. But
Laird's a bit of a wild man with that stuff too.
Yeah,
right?
he's crazy because anybody who surfs 50-foot waves and does what he does, you got to have a screw loose. But he's got
100%.
he's got some extra things helping him too. So surfers are a different breed.
Oh yes, that is for damn sure. Was the mob with you at any of the Cup celebrations?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Good.
both
Okay.
times. Like it was two different houses. I had a smaller house. It didn't matter because you're on the beach.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
So we got the whole beach. But the second one, Kid Rock played on the beach. It was, like I said, I hate name dropping, but it was fascinating. Chicago, quite honestly, bringing it back to Chicago, the only bad thing was it was with Detroit. So but the Hawks hadn't won a cup since '60. It had never been to Wrigley Field. It had never been to White Sox Park. So I did the tour with it, and again, we had parties with Eddie Vedder playing, Big and Rich playing, Kid Rock playing, all at the same time. So that's pretty wild that we could throw a party, and I'll guarantee no one had a better Cup party than I did. You can ask the Cup guys. Ask Mike and Gary and those guys. They wanted to come to my parties. They were the best parties.
Like, take it as many days as you want.
Yeah, and they did. They would call me and go, I'm sick of the Cup. I don't want it. So I'd hang up. I go, I had it enough.
Yeah.
So,
Can you imagine, dude?
You just mentioned Wrigley, and I know you've told the story before, but I got to ask about it. The Winter Classic game at Wrigley.
Yep.
You were about to get health bombed. Didn't. Benched after a couple shifts. Then you started gassing beers on the bench.
Yeah.
Tell me all about that. Were you was that a premeditated decision?
No,
or did you go back into the
And
locker
who
No.
knew? Who? The trainers?
Trainer.
Everyone know?
Did Babcock
No, only
know?
one player knew. Brian Rafalski, because he was sitting next to me on the bench.
And he's like, dude, your water
and
smells
he goes, you
weird.
smell like beer. I go, shut up.
Yeah. Don't lower your
But
voice.
obviously not planned because I didn't know I was getting benched
Right.
until, halfway through the first, and I didn't get a shift. And I look at Brad McCrimmon, God bless him.
Yeah.
And he goes, and he says he told me not to play the rest of the game. I'm like, and then I sat there, and my kids, I looked down at my kids. They were standing on the boards, 25 feet away. And my son's going like that. And I go, come here, go get the trainers. So they didn't know what was going on. So I go get me a couple Gatorades of beer. And so I just sat there and enjoyed the game. And
Yeah, you had the best seat in the house.
and they tried to make me, we got a penalty with 2 minutes left. We were up 7-4. And Babcock looks down and goes, go out there. And I'm like, nah, my feet hurt.
Yeah. Killing me, actually.
How many do you think you went through?
No, 3. I had
3, okay.
3 Gatorades.
Yeah,
so
fair.
maybe like 6 beers. Yeah.
But that's not a lot over the course of
Yeah,
2 periods.
yeah.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. It's a pretty cool tip of the hat for you. You're the first person to ever turn a Winter Classic game into a beer league game.
Yeah.
Because
The
that's
best seat in the house.
pretty
Incredible.
unreal. I absolutely
No,
love
but
it.
it was embarrassing because I
know,
bought 50 tickets
Yep.
for my friends and family to come to the game,
Sure.
and then he pulls that. So unnecessary again.
Yep.
We never. I'm glad that Anders Lilly got to suit up though, because we never suit up 7D, or at least Babcock never suited up 7D,
Sure.
and at least he got in there. But it'd have been nice to rotate.
Yeah. How hard would that have
I was
been?
really happy,
Insane.
but whatever. It's I said I made the best of it.
Yeah, hell
sure
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Epic
It's
story.
it's the
Epic
best
story.
pivot of all time.
My
I
God.
love it.
Okay, I want to ask you about. So Vegas wins the Cup, right? They win the Cup this year. They're a 6th year in the league. They've been to 4 Western Conference Finals. Seattle, which we actually had a ton of fun watching this year, but Seattle had a great beat the defending champs during the second round. How do you feel about the expansion teams having these immediate success? Like, is that cool, or are you like, this is unfair to these other fan bases that have been toiling forever?
Well, just because the way it's set up to lose, if you do all that homework on the draft pick and then you lose a guy,
Just plucked,
but on the other side of the coin, you don't want an expansion team to come in like all the rest of them did and lose.
Yeah.
And so I think it's good that they do that. They talk about parity in the league. That's another reason why. Look at Seattle. The first year they're exactly how expansion team, but Francis goes out and gets all those players.
Fucking
with some
what a
pedigree.
good job.
And now they're a legit team. They're probably 1 or 2 a superstar away from being a contender. Too.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The way they play is incredible. How hard they play.
Yep.
Somewhat like Vegas. They just didn't-
Yes.
Chris, I said that during the playoffs. I think a huge part of Vegas' success was how deep they were. They were rolling 4 lines better than anyone else, and that was Seattle. They were such a tough matchup just against Colorado. You looked at the way that they lined those 4 lines up against the former Stanley Cup champs. It was unbelievable, and I think you're right. You put a superstar or 2 on that team, and they're a huge problem.
Yeah, they play hard, boy. And They were banged up a little bit, but their power play was,
Yeah.
you got to have something.
You got to be there.
And it was horrendous.
Horrendous.
So
Horrendous.
that killed them.
There's a couple whispers of Carlson possibly
Oh, interesting.
getting moved to Seattle, and that would be if you talk about the power play, that would be a pretty huge.
I like it, man. Because a lot of we were with the Vegas fans during the run, and when we're in Florida and everywhere else, it's like it's not fair. These Vegas fans, immediate success. But I'm with you, where I'm like, what do you want? Do you want them to just suck for 10 years?
Right.
Like, what is the point of that? What is the point from the league standpoint? If they're like, hey, we added this team and they're horrible, so of course they have to do this. So I'm all for
I
it.
think it was a good thing. Then they changed it right before Vegas, right?
Yeah.
In the league.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it worked, and I think it's a good thing.
And as a player, what's it? Because I mean, here in Nashville, the Predators came into the league in the middle of your career.
Yeah.
Do you notice it as a player? Like, is it a thing when a team shows up, or is it just whatever? It's just another team on the schedule.
I mean, it's a hard rink to play in. They got a great fan base.
They really do.
They support it. They're wild. The Broadway street. It's not like it's in the middle of nowhere. These people are tailgating, for 3 hours before they got the weather. And then they go to the game, and it's a great atmosphere. And then David Poile, built a real competitive team. They haven't done well in the playoffs at all, other than the year they went to the finals there. Was it the finals?
They lost the Penguins,
but they haven't had much success in the playoffs. And they got some, Roman Josi and the goalie, and then some there's a bunch of guys.
Forsberg's great.
Yeah.
Dutchy's great.
Yeah.
But they run into some tough teams.
Definitely.
Also, but it's a great city. It really is, and it's the demographics is, I think, what helps a ton, because there's so many young people downtown, and it's a scene, and they don't have the entertainment factor like Vegas does or who does. But Seattle, it's a great place to watch a game, and but I think slowly but sure you see teams. I called it cheesy, but it works because people like cheesy, and you have to make it fan friendly, and everybody's going to learn from Vegas.
Yes. Oh my God. It's the pregame. We were joking. We were there. The pregame show alone is like I'd pay the price of entry to watch the pregame. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Give you a little tire pump quickly. You are still in amazing shape.
Hell yeah.
So congrats.
Thanks. Don't let the tan fool you. I couldn't run a mile if I tried.
But I think, in your career, felt like you and Brindamore were two of the, main guys in the league that were like, you take training super seriously.
Yeah.
You just mentioned stuff with Laird working out in Malibu. How was that always a part of your regiment? Like when you were in college, were you doing that? Did it start up more when you got to the NHL? And how much do you think that that's translated to now? Because I feel like, back in the day, guys weren't training maybe as seriously as they are now. You look at a kid like Bedard, he's got tree trunk thighs. He's 17 years old. So it's how did that really get into your regiment? I mean,
hard work was because of my parents and my dad working in restaurants and bars my whole life. And I started when I was 6, 7, whether it was carrying empty boxes and bottles and stuff. So, and if I didn't work hard, I get a backhand to the side of the head. So that's, you don't want backhands from your dad. But no, I think I was ahead of the curve. There's no question. When I was in junior in college, my thing was just running. And I had.
Really?
And I could run, like I never got beat as a kid. I was on the track team, and I just was gifted with like speed in my legs, and I figured running would be the best. And I ran, the Walter Payton up sand dunes. So I ran up, foothills in San Diego. That was my thing, running. Back then, like Bob Gainey was considered, in the best shape, and Gil. But all he did was bike and bench press and run. So, but that's, evolution. Obviously, you're talking about Connor. There's so many more ways of training. And,
it's crazy.
And your diet. And I don't know what else you're taking that's working, if it's legal or not.
Yeah, seriously.
And had I been in this era, I think I would have adapted to that too. Just like these kids were born with, doing this training, and they're 12 months out of the year. I did 12 months out of the year training.
Yeah.
I took no time off. I always skated in the summer. But it really turned around when I met my trainer, T.R. Goodman, who's done a ton of NHL players out in California, out in Venice at the Gold's Gym there. I saw Alan May. He's a telecast now.
Yep.
And I saw him and this trainer on the other side of the gym. I was just doing heavy, bench and curls. And I watched them start doing the circuit training. So I walked over and I said, hey, listen, my name's Chris Chelios, and just wondering could I train with you tomorrow? Yeah. And he goes, yeah. So I did it one day, and I fell in love with it. It was like a boxer's type of workout.
Yeah.
This trainer, T.R. Goodman, had played hockey, so everything was directed towards hockey, the legs, your hips, the movements, and balance and prep. So I just got obsessed with it, and I decided, okay, I'm coming out to California. The minute the kids get out of school, I'm going there from June to September, 2.5 months, no distractions. And I stuck with that. And like I said, I think I was just way ahead of everybody, starting circuit training. And eventually my trainer got pissed because people started copying.
Yeah.
Then we moved out in the parking lot of Gold's Gym and set up our area out there. But what really pissed me off about my trainer was I was, 10 years older than Rob Blake and these other defensemen. He started training them. Well, then Blakey won the Norris Trophy. I go, where's my advantage now? I was the best kept secret, TR. But he had to make a living, TR, and he got such a big a number of players. Pat Brisson, one of the top agents.
Yeah.
Every one of his guys, he'd have 30 kids there come every summer and train with TR in different circuits. So I even started going to 6 a.m. so no one could see me to see what I was doing. That's how
got to keep it under wraps.
Crazy. I was thinking I'll lose this advantage, but like I said, that's what really turned it around. And then since then, I can't run anymore because of my knee and hip, and just if it hurts, don't do it. So I bike a ton.
Running's overrated.
I took Clint Eastwood's advice at one point, saying moderation.
Yeah,
you don't need heavy weights. You just stay, where you are. And that's where I am at right now.
Yeah, I love it. Did TR show you the sauna cycle, or was that all?
No, I invented that. Just like Rocky invented hitting the
meat slabs. Yeah.
I didn't actually invent it, but the guy who did, he was a football coach at Wisconsin when I was there. It's not a good story, but me and Gary Suter walked into the sauna, and this guy, Danny McLean's riding the bike in the sauna, but he's got the wrestling rubber suit on.
Oh, my God.
And he wasn't in crazy out of shape. He wasn't. Yeah. He was 46 years old, but they found him slumped over that bike the next week, had a heart attack, and died on the sauna.
And then you kept doing it?
No, but me and Gary Suter looked at each other and goes, okay, just don't wear the rubber
Don't wear
suit.
the suit.
Simple. So, and quite honestly, all that does, the training in the sauna, is it's an easier way to sweat. And obviously you get the flu, your body automatically, you sweat it out. So I've always had that mentality. The surface stuff, I believe in sweating once a day, and the sauna just makes it easier.
Yeah.
Then I took it to a different level, started training in the sauna, got in the sauna business with some guys up in Ontario, building quality barrel saunas with windows and TVs and folding benches so you could have more room. And, my kids all do it. My daughters do it. And if you want to cut weight, there's no better way than biking in the sauna, watching TV.
Jeez. Have you ever passed out in there?
No, but dizzy, walking out, sideways
Rubber
like
legs,
you're coming out of the bar at 3 a.m. Yeah. But that's what the cold tub's for.
Exactly.
That
Dude,
revives
snap you right back
Right
to
in the cold
life.
tub.
Yep.
That's incredible. How long will you be in there? How long are you on the bike in there?
Honestly, it just depends on the temperature. But if I'm watching TV, I'll watch a movie, I'll watch a ball game. But if I hit the wall like you talk about and I start feeling a little, I just jump in the cold tub, take about 2-3 minute break, and come in. But
and then you go back.
Oh yeah, 2.5, 3 hours.
Finish the movie. You're out of your mind. Sure. The movie's on.
I tried calling for a place today though, and it's like it's not. You can't just. You have to have an appointment. So I didn't have the time to do it.
Fucking unbelievable. Keep going. I'm gonna. This beer's going right through me.
One thing I'm interested in is I remember you talking earlier about, and especially with the move to San Diego, you brought this up. You weren't obsessed with being an NHL player as a kid. You were doing all these other things, right? And I think you said too that there's, there weren't a lot of Americans playing. Yep. You were smaller, all that stuff. Today, I don't think there's a single kid in there tonight that hasn't been obsessed with being an NHL player since he was 5, right? Do you think at all that it's we overload the kids, it's hockey all the time? Or did you like that you had other interests growing up? And what did you do with your kids when they started playing?
Yeah, every kid's different. For me, like you mentioned, there's no expectations for an American kid my age making it to the NHL. And I swear to God, I love baseball. I wanted to be a major league pitcher. That was my dream. Yeah. And every Canadian kid wants to be a pro hockey play in the NHL. Well, mine was to play in the MLB.
The Cubs.
And that's Sox. I'm a South Sider.
Okay, nice.
I would have took either because I'm a Chicago kid and I love both teams. But White Sox were my team. And but I was small. I was a late bloomer. I had a January birthday, so I was the youngest kid in my class. That hurt me with baseball. It didn't affect me with hockey because cutoff date was January, so it was actually great for hockey. And then, moving to San Diego, it didn't disappoint me one bit that I was out of hockey.
Yeah.
Then I took up surfing. And I just went to an all-boys Catholic school for 2 years. getting the paddle, getting whipped, and I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, San Diego's amazing.
Having lunch outside, and 1,500 people, and all,
blonde chicks everywhere.
Yeah. It's just like I thought you see California in the movies, and I was distracted, and even when I got cut the first year I went to Canada, I came back. I didn't care. Like I tried, and that I just didn't make it. So big deal. And then, I just I got lucky with the time. I grew 2 inches, while I was in Moose Jaw.
Yeah.
And then we talked about that earlier about becoming a reality of maybe making it.
With the Olympics and everything.
When you don't have expectations, there's no disappointments.
Right.
And then you look at these kids, and trust me, these parents from day one think their kid's going to be the next Wayne Gretzky.
It's crazy.
And it's every sport, not just hockey.
Yep.
And that added pressure. And I've known some kids that played with my kids. They just got burnt out. They could have continued to play hockey, in a minor league level, or maybe even gotten a chance to play, but they just had enough of the pressure, and it hurt a lot of kids. But then those kids, like I'm sure Connor Bedard from day one, and it's his obsession, and he's made it, and he's and a lot of kids do, but you got to be realistic. There's only so many seats, and there's 700 spots in what you want to do, and it's a tough way. It's tough to get there, and if you can't handle adversity, you're gonna have a tough time.
That's the scary part, because the success stories, you always hear that, like, I played all the time, that's how I made it. So then every kid thinks like, I have to play all the time. But it's like, it burns you. It's like in Hollywood, they're like, you hear the famous screenwriters like, you just drop out of school and write movies, and everyone's like, that's the formula. And I'm like, no, that was the formula for them. Please be careful.
So true. It's not the same for everybody.
So did you play anything other than pitcher?
Yeah, well, when you're not pitching, you're
shortstop.
You're the best player, shortstop. Action, man. And actually, I would catch too.
Oh, really?
Because it's the other position that's not boring. And even now, when I go to these fantasy camps, now I catch. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just you're right in it. I can't pitch anymore. My shoulder's shot.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but like I said, I still enjoy watching baseball.
Me too.
More than any sport, because I think it's the most pure sport, because it's not a physical. There's no physical contact like football, baseball. I hate not baseball, football, hockey, and basketball. You're always talking about the refereeing or the umps, and I hate that.
Yes,
and they found ways to not rig it, but control it.
But sometimes rig it.
Rig it. Yeah, let's call it what it is. The supervisors are there for a reason. And you want to blame the refs all the time, but these refs are being told what to do. Plain and simple. So.
Yeah, so I played baseball too. We both did, but I was always shortstop. I kind of got too tall for shortstop eventually, but I always wanted to catch. And when you're little, everyone was like, "You can't play catcher. Go play shortstop. You're good."
I'm a lefty, and I was the same deal. There's like 3 positions that I could play in baseball, and it was like
you can't play first. Well, no, third base you can't.
Yeah, third
catcher.
is disaster. First you could.
Yeah, they let you play first.
And then I remember I played first in Little League, and I pitched. That was my big thing. But I remember playing first base, and then eventually one of my coaches was like, "You're too fast to be sitting at first base." So I got thrown in center field. And I remember being young. If you're in the outfield, you're like, "I'm a plug." Like if you get thrown in the outfield in Little League, it's like no one's hitting the ball out there. So, oh my god, it was a disaster.
Yeah, especially right field. You're the worst player on the team.
Exactly, correct. You're an absolute grocery stick getting tossed in right field. It's unbelievable. So I wanted to know specifically from you, because you were a guy. I played defense growing up. You were a guy that I loved watching and kind of modeled my game around. I'd love to hear who you think right now are roughly like the top 5 defensemen in the league, because it's such a different thing. I'm such a Wayno went on that rant a little while ago talking about the Norris Trophy and saying there needs to be a Norris and a Bobby Orr Trophy.
Right.
And I couldn't agree more. And I look at the 3 guys nominated for the Norris this season, all unbelievable players, but call it what it is. Carlson, Foxy, and Makar, their game is really all about their offense. And
Carlson's a dash 26
if I'm
winning the Norris Trophy, and I'm like,
if I'm to give my top
crazy.
5, isn't that insane? It's unacceptable, frankly.
He had so many points, right?
Yeah. Points.
So if I'm to give my top 5 defensemen, I think it's way different than the league consensus. So I'm curious what yours would be.
No question, Makar.
Yep.
Tays, his partner, is
really.
Yeah,
he's unreal.
Is every bit as good.
Pick. Yeah.
And defensively, he's like Lidstrom was, right? Like, doesn't make mistakes because he's never out of position. Fox, I think, has a hard time skating. He got a little bit exposed this year in the playoffs because he didn't have the support. They just, but he's still unbelievably smart. gets out of situations. I've never been a fan of Carlson because I like you. I like guys who are two-way defensemen.
Yep, agree.
Carlson's a winger.
Yeah.
Just put him on the blue line.
He's literally a right winger who plays defense.
The kid from Dallas, Heiskanen.
Yep.
Sick.
Yep.
So good.
How good he is. And the guy here, Roman Yossi, I
Yeah.
love the way he plays too. Even though it looks like he's getting caught up, he doesn't. He gets back, and he's so talented. I wish he was a little more physical, but he's not soft. But I love Heiskanen. That's probably the guys. If I was to see a list right now, I'm drawing some blanks because even the way Martinez and Pietrangelo played today as a 10, they're up against the other team's top line, and they had no problems.
None.
Just smart D. And,
which is such an underrated piece of it, right? Like I feel like when the Bruins when they did win that cup, it was like Chara and Seidenberg were just like every top line was like, goodbye.
Yeah.
You don't exist.
I love how you mentioned Taves because I do think there's something so important about a good D pairing. I don't think that gets talked about enough. You look at a lot of teams that shuffle the pairs, and if you find a good tandem that works well together, it's so valuable. It's unbelievable. Right. But yeah, no, I love that list.
Me too.
I think I'd throw McAvoy in there selfishly as a Bees guy, but also I just love Charlie.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love the way I coached him in World Juniors. He just skates himself into a frenzy once in a while.
Yes, he sure does.
And with it, as he gets older, I know he's been in the league long enough, but he's got to learn to get rid of that puck earlier and join the rush, not lead the rush, the old saying. But because he puts himself in a pickle and ends up on his backhand and right in the middle. Yeah. He'll figure it out. Like he's such a great kid. But
my God, yeah.
I thought after this long he would have learned it by now. But he's still but that's a problem. Like I was a forward until I got to Moose Jaw.
Yeah. When
your team's struggling, all a D can do is get himself in trouble, when you try to do too much.
Yep.
And that's what I think Charlie, there's times you have to take some chances, and like I said, he's incredible. But he's got enough talent up front, that he should just be more patient and manage the clock a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, he's gotten better every year.
Yes,
he's
he really
get
has.
better.
He really has. That's true.
awesome. Okay, another top 5 for you. Because we're here in Nashville. It's an awesome town. We were just talking about like going out last night. It's going off every night on Broadway. So hit me with top 5 road cities. Like when you're on the road, your team's out.
And I want it in your playing days.
Yeah.
Like not now.
Okay.
When you were playing, what were the 5 cities you liked going to the most?
Well, I'd have to say, because we used to do the Western Swing, right? So we were always in Banff for 4 days. That's where we stayed. We were out to Kelly. And whenever we played Edmonton, Kelly, so Banff.
I fucking knew it.
You said, you were like,
before you came in here when we were talking about this question, I was like, he's going to say like Calgary or something. And now I need to know why. So
it was a riot. Banff, we got to ski. It was amazing. Quite honestly, like Vancouver. Another great city. LA, no. I'd say LA was terrible. It was driving. It closed early.
Yep.
Ask anybody, Montreal, everything's close. As far as American cities, Chicago's a great city.
Yep.
You got everything's condensed and close. It's a 5-minute walk to everything. New York, still one of my favorite cities to visit. Never want to live there, but
completely.
And playing in New York, the Gardens was by far one of my favorite places to play, other than the Chicago Stadium. No question. Texas is good. Nashville. Once they got in the league, you couldn't walk by Broadway, without going in the bars. And I never went out the night before a game, but this is one city when Nashville wasn't playing good. This is one city we'd always go out the night before a game with Detroit.
Wow.
Incredible.
Love to hear that,
awesome.
actually. Where do you feel like you got in the most trouble?
Jesus. Montreal.
Yeah.
I was single, no question. And, it didn't matter when you went out, even if you didn't go out, they were saying you went out. And it got to the point where I was calling Serge the next day, or he would call me, and I would tell him where I was.
Yeah.
So because people were calling in saying they were seeing me at places that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And Serge finally figured it out. Even his friends were lying to him because they wanted to get me traded so bad.
Get out of here.
But that's where, we had 8 rookies, then Corson, Keene, that group of swing of guys came in. And everybody was single. Curvers, Maley, Carlson, Turcotte. we went out together every day, not necessarily drinking, but you know, dinners and
stuff like
no
that.
one was married, so no one had girls.
So
We
fun.
just,
My God.
you know, did our thing. So that's where I didn't get in trouble, but I got blamed for a lot of stuff in Montreal.
You needed the share location back in the day. You know, like, hey, boss,
This is where I am.
I'm not any of these places.
Yeah, I'll be on Crescent Street. That's where I'll be. So.
Were you and Serge cool by the end of it all? Like, did you guys have a good relationship? Or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He never wanted to trade me. He had pressure from other people. I won't mention their names.
You can if you want. Just sue
No,
her, man.
it's all good.
No.
I never left on bad terms with them. And there's some other things that happened, like personal things too, that I just, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with it. Like,
Yeah, of course
you know,
not.
And whether they're true or not didn't matter. It was out in the media, and I had enough. So, like, I'm sorry. Now I just drew a blank there.
No, just talking about Serge.
Yeah,
your
he was
relationship
cool.
with
Oh,
him,
no, and I actually just ran into him, and he says it in his book. I haven't read his book yet, but he says it's the worst trade he ever made. And I just saw him
really?
at Bobby Hull's memorial about a month ago, and I was with him the whole time.
That's so cool.
Like, he had my back every time. So
Love that. That's awesome.
And it's hard for a French guy, you know, to stick up against the French media and support
sure.
me, and he did it right till the end. So
I love that.
Amazing.
All right, your last top 5. Give me your top 5 U.S. players.
Not counting yourself.
Not counting yourself, because you are in there.
You are one, by the way.
Yeah.
But because
Thank
I
you.
really want to know, because, you know, because your old Mike Babcock, your old coach, is like, you're the best American player of all time. And you played with some epic ones.
Yeah.
Leach, Madonna, Brett Hall, all these
you
boys.
just named 2. I don't know if I want to count Hully. He's Canadian blood.
That's kind of what I think. I was
he's-
telling that the other day.
I don't know. No, Hully you have to count because he chose Team USA over Team
Yeah, he did.
Canada.
That's
Couldn't
almost-
make Team Canada for some reason.
But we've seen such a cool boom in it lately, right? Like Matthews and the Kachuk Bros, the Eichel, all these
Yeah.
boys. Yeah, so I'm curious where these guys, the guys rank in compared to the boys you played with.
No question as far as defenseman, Leachy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's
Gotta
second to
be.
none.
Yep.
What he did, on that cup run. Madonna, leading a scorer. I love JR. I still don't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame for what he did.
Same. We talk about it all the time.
I didn't play against JR a whole lot, so I'll include Keith Kachuk because
Yeah.
I had a hard time playing against Kachuk, how big he was and tough in front of the net. So I had a hard time with him. Goaltender, American goalies, Barasso's getting in the Hall of Fame this year. I'm trying to think what other great. Mike Richter won the cup. He won one cup. So Ricky, because he won the World Cup with us, I'm going to be a little biased.
That's
because
okay.
That's the only time we beat Canada.
Yeah.
We're there. It is their game. Jesus Christ, it's their only game. Curling maybe, but no, like that. What Ricky did in World Cup, and that was spectacular. And his record. Trying to think if I'm missing anybody. I don't. At the older guys, Neil Broughton was a hell of a player at the time.
Good one. Wow. Yeah.
Not as long as a career, but Joey Mullen. Late start. He was like he's amazing. I think he's in the Hall of Fame. Joey Mullen.
I think
so.
Joey is too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that would be the 5 guys I would say. I'm sure I'm forgetting. Housley, again, he should have been a forward.
Yeah.
He put up numbers, 7 hat tricks, 8 hat tricks, but he wasn't a defenseman.
Yeah.
He just took off, and he never had a lot of success in the playoffs. Housley, and I love Phil, but I'm like I said, you got to be balanced, and you have to be two-way. And he was amazing, though, the skill he had.
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
Anyone in particular you like of the young boys, the young American kids out there now?
On defense, McAvoy.
Yeah.
I think he's top. He is the top American defenseman, and the success.
Well, him and Fox,
his team has,
right? Like those guys are out of control.
Like I said, Foxy, like again, he had a tough time. Maybe he was hurt.
He did. No, you're right.
He really struggled in the playoffs. I'm trying to think who his partner was too. They just had a tough. They had a tough series.
They sure did. They sure did.
I'm trying to think of that shorthanded goal. Who beat them? Jersey.
Jack Hughes.
They gave
Jack's
that
all over
speed. Gave them fits.
Oh my God, yeah.
But McAvoy, he doesn't have a problem with speed.
Yeah,
this kid can skate.
Oh my God.
Sure can.
I mean, I guess that thing that keeps track of how much you skated miles or whatever it is. McAvoy's like double anybody. After
truly.
Funny.
I also he throws the body too.
Yeah,
Charlie will absolutely.
He's not
crinkle
afraid.
someone.
He engages, and McCarr will do that too.
Yep.
But as far as Americans, he's got a lot of grit. McAvoy.
Yeah, I
definitely,
love that.
definitely. How special was playing with the U.S. team for
Oh
you?
my God.
Well, I mean, anytime, that's the greatest thing you could do is represent your country, whether it's in sports or, in the service and stuff. And then you're one of only, 23 guys are chosen. So
Yeah, it's amazing.
I was like when I got chosen, I think I was halfway through my second year at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And the minute they told me that I'd made the team, I quit going to school and just started working out.
Yeah.
And that I knew I wasn't going to graduate, knew I wasn't going to go back. So everything, instead of doing homework, I was doing push-ups, sit-ups, running, and it sounds stupid, but that's what I did. I
makes perfect sense.
Totally committed because I realized I wasn't going to graduate. So, and to make the Olympic team 4 times, captain twice, and the last one was quite a surprise when Herb Brooks picked me for Salt Lake, and I still think that's the greatest.
I was going to say, what a time
I've
that
ever
was.
played. Disappointed we lost to Canada, but of course they had a great team too.
Yeah.
And I played for 2 of the greatest American coaches in Badger Bob Johnson and Jesus, I just said his name. Herbie Brooks, and to captain it and even winning a silver medal. I know your mentality for NHL is, it's Stanley Cup or nothing.
Wins,
Well, if you can place a medal and you look at all the other athletes, whether it's bronze, silver, gold, that's something to be said that you win a medal for your country. So
100%.
It was a great honor. The fans were very supportive everywhere we went, and some disappointments. But when you get into those round robins and single game eliminations, anything can happen. And my first experience was making World Juniors. Unfortunately, our first game was against Russia in Minnesota. We were losing 8-0 after the first. Got booed out of the building. Russia never scored another goal because they didn't try it. They just never shot. And that was a horrible experience. It was really embarrassing. But then, years go by and you look back and say, well, at least I was lucky enough to play for the World Juniors too, which has become an amazing tournament.
Yeah.
It's so
it's
fun.
unreal now.
Forward to that every year. Yeah. It's
Fantastic. All right, we're going to close you out with the last segment we do.
Okay.
Do it with everybody. It's called Pass, Shoot, Score. Basically a ranking system. We're going to give you some things that we know that you love in your life, and you got to rank them. Pass, we love passing the puck around, but maybe not our favorite. Shoot, it's great to get pucks on net. Then score is obviously the ultimate goal. So that's going to be your highest. Score will be your highest. Shoot in the middle. Pass is the lowest. So we're going to start you with, I know you're a huge outdoors guy, big activities guy. So pass, shoot, score, surfing, snowboarding, and mountain biking.
Mountain biking is the best.
Get out.
What is pass?
Pass is least, shoot is middle, score is best.
Score mountain biking. Shoot is for sure surfing.
Okay.
And then pass is snowboard.
Boarding. Okay.
Mountain biking.
I would have guessed surfing.
Me too.
I thought surfing would take the cake.
Because I'm not good at it.
Oh, really? All
Are you
right.
doing the stand up or are you doing
Stand up paddle? It's not like I can catch 20-foot waves.
Yeah.
But it's not pretty, and I can't get out of that wave with that big
I was gonna
board
say.
and I
Oh, yeah. It's a
crush.
nightmare, dude. Oh, my
But
God.
I'm ready for that exit. Like I just push my board ahead.
See ya.
Yeah.
and just
Talk.
drag for
Yeah.
a few feet.
Yeah.
And swallow a lot of water.
Is the mountain biking a pound though, or is the
Yeah,
bike
how's
so
that on
good
the-
now?
Not bad
that
on the
it's
knee
fine?
at all?
No, but what I've come to notice is over the last few years, my wrists, my neck, and the knee not so much. I don't know why, but the pounding on the bad trails, technical. I'm starting to slow down on that now too.
Yeah, I bet.
Any fire trails that are flat and stuff,
You're golden.
And I go down slow. I'm not one of those nuts like these guys.
Man.
I just see a big circle of dirt.
The falls are insane.
You watch some of those videos, and I'm like, what the hell are these guys
And
doing?
I got friends like Timmy Comerford from Rage. Like,
Yeah.
This guy's got metal plates in his head, and you watch him still go down, and you're like, I hope I don't have to carry him out of this canyon.
Like, come on.
It's not worth the risk, and they can rehab. They don't, obviously he's got to work and tour, but like I got to play still. So now that I'm this age, I take my time going down.
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Good.
Yes.
Where's your favorite place to mountain bike?
Right across my street in Malibu.
Really?
There's thousands of trails. I mean, I'll do it anywhere, but that's my favorite place. Just convenience factor.
Dude, one of our buddies, he lives
convenient.
in Manhattan Beach, and he's always mountain biking in Malibu. And he's trying to get me to come out, but
You can't beat it.
I got to
Just
try
goes
it, I
forever.
think. Yeah.
And you're looking at the ocean, and it's unreal.
Okay, your next pass, shoot, score. We're going to talk a little El Bandito Yankee. Okay? We're going to talk about it in a second, but first, so I know that you prefer to just drink it on the rocks.
Yep.
But tequila drinks, pass, shoot, score, margarita, Paloma, ranch water.
Paloma would be pass.
Okay.
I feel like it's a woman's drink.
That
But
sucks
it's a
for
great
you,
drink.
buddy. That's Dan loves the drink.
I just didn't know that I was going to get
was a-
stuffed in a
it's a
locker by Chris Chelios today.
Like I said,
It
I
is a
like-
great drink, though.
Yeah, I don't like sweet. I like bland. So
Okay.
margaritas would be shoot.
Yep.
And then
Ranch water.
Score.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Ranch water.
Okay.
Ranch water.
So can you tell everyone who doesn't know, because I love the origin of the name of the company, Butchcast. So tell everyone about it, how you started. I want to know about this whole venture.
They say late night decisions are
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of your best. I don't know if it is my best, but I had this guy come to my golf tournament, had never met him. His name's Jim Bob Morris. He played a little bit for the Packers, played
Yeah.
CFL. And we were sitting out one night after the tournament, like 2 a.m,
Yep.
and he's drinking.
Literally first day you've ever met him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. He played in the golf tournament, and the group of people with the bus, we went back downtown to Chicago, and we're drinking tequila, and he blurts out, "This tequila tastes like shit."
Yeah.
And
You
I
agreed.
agree. And he goes, "Well, we should make our own." I go, "That'd be cool." He goes, "Well, what would you name it?" He can talk. I go, and I just off the top of my head,
Get the fuck outta
I
here. The
said,
first
El
night?
Bandito tequila. First night, I go, El Bandito tequila. He goes, "What's that from?" He goes, I said, Butch Cassidy's Sundance Kid. And he goes, "I've seen that movie 1,000 times. I don't remember that." He goes, "Well, when they robbed the Bolivian bank and the Bolivian police run into the thing and say, El Bandito Americano, Yankees." So,
Yeah.
so this guy, he's crazy,
Yeah.
Jim Bob. And 6 weeks later, he calls me 6 weeks later. He goes, "Hey, I got some samples." I go, "What are you talking about?"
Samples of what?
He goes, "I got the tequila. I got some. I've been going back and forth to Guadalajara. I got some great
Have you
tequila."
like not talked to him in this 6 week period?
Not once.
Dude.
Jim
Oh my
Bob, dude.
God.
What an animal.
So he goes and we do. I go, what the hell? I'll do the tasting with these guys. It's 5 minutes from my house.
Sure.
Free tequila.
We do the tasting. Not great. We just, and then he goes again, comes back, goes again, comes back. Finally, it was about Christmas. He brings these samples, and there's about 8 guys, and we're not blindfolded, but
Yeah.
knowing the girls are bringing the tequila out, not telling which is which, knowing. So all 8 guys picked the same Blanco.
Wow.
So I'm like,
Nice.
you know what? This is pretty
That's the
good.
one, yeah.
So let's just stick with this. So within weeks, he's got ownership papers. And I'm like, I never had a partner. I don't know if I want to get into this. So it took me 1.5 years to sign the ownership papers because this guy was so whacked out. And we came up with a repo, which is really good. My thing is it's additive free and it's clean.
Yes.
You don't get hungover. There's no bite. It's just smooth. And just knowing that you're not going to be hungover
Yep.
the next day and you could drink it on the rocks. But so our newest partner is Jelly Roll. I don't know if you heard of Jelly Roll.
We were with him the other day.
On Monday, yeah.
There you go. You were with him?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he was at the awards. We were at the award show. He
Really?
presented some. Or he presented, right?
Yeah.
I think he presented one of them, and then we did the
Yeah,
after party.
unbeknownst to me, I just found out also that he's, joined the company. And, I don't know much about him. I know he's got a great voice. I listen to some of
Yeah.
his songs. And so who knows?
Yeah.
He's got a huge following and he keeps getting bigger and bigger like these country guys do.
I
Maybe
love
he'll
this.
put us on the map. And
There you go.
that's great.
Absolutely.
So you never know in this business. Like I was with Randy Gerber, who owns Casamigos. I'm really close friends
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
with him, and I don't know Clooney. I've met him, but
Yeah.
I don't know him. But I watched these guys for 5 years. What Randy did, and it's all Randy. He did all the marketing. He did all the artwork. He designs everything, and he just has that gift.
That's
and
cool.
I helped him, move it in Chicago, and not that he needs my help anymore, but and it's just ironic that we come up with a tequila. And
Yeah.
at first he's like, but he agrees it's really good tequila. Like it.
We agree.
Yeah.
Tequila's my drink,
Yeah.
and we'll be pushing it now too. 'Cause
Thank you.
it's unbelievable
Yeah,
stuff.
we got the juice. We just got to get the word out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Jelly Roll is the best way to do it. So,
Yeah, me too. Me too. And you're like in 15 states. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
15 states right now.
15. Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
I wish I got. I'm going to call someone who must have it here. Maybe
Come on, we need it
maybe
here.
Kid Rock's got a few bottles.
Yeah,
I
there you
dropped
go.
off. So.
The Jelly Roll Chris Chelios Empty Netters crossover
Was what
for
we all
pushing El
needed.
Bandito
Yeah.
Yankee is what we've always needed.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a T jelly something. There's got to be some. Type
Oh,
of
there we
slogan
go.
there.
We'll get on that.
Yeah.
There's got to be something in that. We'll think about that for sure. All right, your next one. Hawks fan growing up, obviously Chicago guy. I know that you had a bunch of iconic Hawks players that you loved. So we're gonna pass, shoot, score. Stan Mikita, Bobby Hull, and Keith Magnuson.
Well, all of them include, like, I liked everybody. And Bobby Hull, obviously the big name, Stan Mikita. Tony Esposito, I started as a goalie.
Oh,
Yeah.
did
Because
you?
of Tony Esposito. Not long. I figured that out. That was a bad
No
position
way.
early at the age of 7. But
It's because you want to be a catcher too, dude. You just like the action.
yeah. And that plus when you can't afford skates, and my dad wouldn't buy me skates, so you get stuck playing goalie with gym shoes or boots. Obviously in the winter. But yeah, I mean, I could name every player from the late '60s, early, like including Doug Jarrett, Jim Pappin, Cliff Corral, Phil Russell. I knew every player. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see him on TV because back then they weren't televised. So one of our neighbors had this antenna that if it was sold out, you can go to his house and watch the game. But unfortunately, the Hawks never played or only played weeknights. They all school nights. Yeah. So my parents wouldn't let us stay up late either. So that kind of stunk. But they did have hockey, that Peter Puck show. You're too young to remember it, but there was a game a week that you could watch and had this cartoon character Peter Puck, and they played Showdown back then and Hardest Shot. So it was kind of cool.
It's awesome.
But yeah, I love the Blackhawks. They couldn't get by the Canadians ever.
Yeah.
There's the 1 year in '71 where they were up in the series, and then forget Lemaire scored from center ice on Tony, and they've never gotten close since then.
Yeah. But if you're ranking those three guys, what do you do?
Well,
it's brutal to do. But.
I was a center. When I started, my number was 21 for 7 years.
Wow.
Right up till college. So Stan Mikita's my guy.
Yep. Got to be.
Bobby Hull, and then Keith Magnuson.
There you go.
Because Maggie was my best friend, and in Chicago, I worked with the alumni a lot with him, and he was the heart and soul of that team. Like he was like 165 pounds when he started, and they had big guys on the team, but he was the only one that fought and stuck up for his teammates. So he had heart.
All right. I like it. I do have to ask you, because he's one of my favorite players growing up. What was it like playing with Datsyuk?
Unbelievable.
He's a freak.
He's a freak, dude.
So respectful, and he worked. He had this crazy unorthodox stride.
Yeah.
Even the way he walked in the dressing room, he's pigeon-toed,
really,
darty and weird. But he just got there and gets it done, and his skill level was above and beyond everybody. And after a couple of weeks in college, I used to play at the end of practice. We called it King Hog. Just play keep away with the puck.
Okay.
One-on-one.
Everyone out there?
No,
one-on-one.
You could do three guys once in a while, but one-on-one to see who the best was.
Yeah.
And I challenged Datsyuk, and all I could do is start hammering him.
Yeah.
I'd coming down, but it was awesome to play against him, and we became really good friends. He lived real close to me.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, my son was playing hog with him.
Yeah.
And he stepped on my kid's stick during the playoffs and sprained his ankle. And sucked it up. Like he just he got through the playoffs. Yeah, and we didn't tell anybody. It was
Did you guys win that year?
We didn't win that year, but we won the series then. But it hurt his ankle bad.
That is so funny.
Felt so terrible. But then we still, I texted him every once in a while. He was playing against my son 2 years ago.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so Jake's playing.
Really?
Yeah.
So Jake's playing in Russia.
Jake's in Russia. He's been there 4 years. So I got to keep in touch, and every time
so awesome.
They got together, he'd take a picture. But I called him the bear, and he called me the eagle, the representation of Russia and the U.S. So he was something else. Just a totally different dynamic than Fedorov, and style, and he never wanted anybody to yell for the puck. He hated that, and Hollywood be all over him.
Really?
Yeah. So, but he was.
That's like, I see you, dude. You're giving it away.
Yeah, and he had a great sense of humor. You'd never know it. And first, he knew English. He just didn't want to speak it and do it. And eventually, his personality came out towards the end, and he. Really funny guy.
Yeah,
that's
so awesome,
would have
never expected that.
Yeah.
I can't believe
like Gino. These Russians, they know more English than they let on.
Yeah, for sure.
Fucking unbelievable.
Incredible. Okay, God. Last pass, shoot, score. We're going some classic Greek dishes, Greek foods. Jesus. Okay. How do I say the first one?
Spanakopita.
Spanakopita.
Pass.
Ooh, really?
Love it, but passes.
Okay.
I'm hoping you have something better.
Oh, well, I hope so. Souvlaki.
Well, we'll say shoot.
Okay. And moussaka.
Yeah, I don't like moussaka.
What about pasticcio?
Pasticcio.
That's number one.
That's number one. Okay, there we go.
Mom's pasticcio is number one to this day.
Really?
Yep. She still bangs it out every holiday. And if I go to her house, that's the number one dish, and my kids love it.
Really?
Yeah. Whenever there's any left, the kids take it home with them. So yeah, pasticcio. She's got the #1 pasticcio.
Okay, so talk to us, because obviously your dad had a bunch of restaurants growing up.
Yep.
Talk to us about some of your favorite Greek stuff. Do you cook it still? How does all that work?
I do not cook one Greek dish because I'm a barbecue guy. What I do is prepare Greek style, so I don't put sauces. Greeks are just lemon, oregano, salt, pepper. That's it on everything. So that's how I raise my kids. They like that type of bland food. Also, they don't like sauces. But my wife, from my mom, I didn't have to cook the Greek dishes because my wife was taught by my mom.
Perfect.
And she makes maybe a little better some of the dishes. There's stuff called rizaki, hilopitis.
Okay.
And my daughters obviously make it for their kids too.
Yep.
And there's not a pasta dish that they make that kids know. They all love it. And there's dishes you guys haven't had. It's not in restaurants.
What are they? I want to know them.
It's just like some of these square pastas with tomato sauce is the hilopitis, and most of it's chicken and rice. A lot of it.
Okay.
The rizaki.
Right
yeah. So
all right, we'll come up to Malibu.
And then
have some Greek food with you.
Yeah, they got a great Greek restaurant in Malibu, quite honestly, that Tony's Taverna.
Tony's. I go to Tony's all the time.
Yeah, it's a different ownership, but it's equally as good. It's just different. It's a little more modern. But in Chicago, there's still a few restaurants in Greektown, my dad's generation.
Yeah.
Which is more traditional Greek.
That's cool.
You would know the difference because you're younger, but the traditional people, like for me, I love it.
That's the hummus at Tony's is out of this world.
Yeah, their sauces, they charge you up to what.
Oh yeah, they sure do.
But they're good. But Milos is probably the most well known Greek restaurant. There's one in New York that's world renowned, and Montreal actually had the first Milos. And that was amazing. Montreal had an unbelievable Greek town.
Damn. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is Greek cuisine your favorite food still?
It's a close with Italian.
Yeah.
But nothing beats my mom's Greek food. But Italian food's right there.
Yeah.
And then you've had, I'm sure, your fair share of restaurants too. What's that?
Chicken wings.
Yeah, buddy.
Dry ribs I adopted from the Canadians because I love dry ribs.
This guy too, a little dry wing guy. Yeah.
I tried to get the dry ribs. I was in Saskatchewan last week, but no one had dry ribs.
Really?
Which is weird. They might be more Western. I don't know. But I mean, it's all sports bars, and I opened them, and I would go to them. I would frequent them all the time with my teammates, and it made a big difference with the clientele. Fans, if you interact with the fans, you got to be at your restaurant first of all if you own it. But if you're an athlete and you're there all the time, they were both successful. I had my parents running the one in Chicago, the one in Detroit. We had to bring the cup there. It was amazing. Probably had 2,000 people in the parking lot.
No way, really?
Spraying everybody. Yeah, that was a big day too in Detroit with the cup with those guys, and the Tigers celebrated with us too. But I'm not really. There's no money in the restaurant.
I was going to ask, dude. It's brutal.
It's a brutal
business.
game.
Yeah.
We grew up working in them too, man.
Yeah.
All our whole lives. We grew up in a little beach town in Maine. And, from little dives to 5-star restaurants, we've done it all, and it's a grind. It's
I was lucky because I sold more liquor than I did food, which is very rare. I just happened to have the huge parking lot in Detroit, and I had a huge warehouse in Chicago. And quite honestly, once the Hawks started their decline when I left, the bar was done, and I had moved. And then Detroit, same thing. We started, slowly but surely, the team started, falling out of the playoffs, and it really hurt the business, and then I had to sell that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, before we let you go, we got a little gift for you here.
Oh.
So we
you got to
made a little slogan at Empty Netters. Ice is ready has become our slogan.
Okay.
We sell a lot of T-shirts with like iconic photos on it that say "Ice is ready." So we have this one that's just hit our store that we made specially for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ice is ready.
Yeah. It's like, see the Almost Friday. That's like the flagship of the company. Okay. So we do Ice is Ready on all of ours.
And this has quickly become our #1 selling Ice is Ready.
Oh, no.
Can you believe that?
Who sent you that? My daughter? Where'd you get that picture? Must have got my haircut. Just got my haircut.
The hair is going off. That's yours.
Flow.
Can you believe that?
That is a fan favorite immediate.
I just don't understand. It's like you got a fan.
Chris,
making
we
you
popped
look
that up.
Good.
You couldn't get me with an El Bandito tequila?
Yeah, we
we can make it all.
We need that too.
We tossed that up, and our Instagram was just flooded. People were like, "Make that shirt
immediately."
So there it is.
But you got the first one.
Thank you.
Isn't that great?
I don't know if I'll be able to wear it in public, but that's awesome. My wife's gonna cringe when she sees.
Yeah,
that.
you got to toss it on for the wife immediately. It's unbelievable.
Oh, she's gonna think I lost my mind. That's funny.
All right, but before we let you go, other than El Bandito Yankee, which we're going to plug all the time, is there anything you want to give a shout out to? Anything you want us to know about?
Yeah, what do you got going on coming up?
I mean, oh God, big weekend in Chicago with NASCAR. And then we got a wedding. My son's getting married the next weekend.
No way.
Big
When?
Rock the following weekend. Yeah. So
Oh my God.
it's just
Gonna
back
be
to
back summer.
back.
What a time.
And I guess I didn't share this. I have a boat in Chicago, and it's turned into I can't charter more than 12 people or bring. I could put 40 people on the boat, but I just happened to get lucky, and find this old boat that no one, I just really lucky. And it's been the greatest thing in my life on Lake Michigan. I take it to Charlevoix 12 hours. And my passion is water. Lakes. And this boat, it's been too good to be true. And I've had everybody from Bono to, the whole YouTube band.
Yeah.
And the pictures are amazing. Just getting hammered with these guys and Eddie Vedder and Kid Rock. And it's a joy in my life. And
I love that.
Kids, my wife unfortunately doesn't handle the boats well with the motion, but it's been awesome. So that's if you ever go to Chicago, it's an area called the Playpen, just off the coastline. And you'll see there's boats in there, but I got a beautiful boat there. It's called Calterra. It's named after my daughters, so it's been good luck. So but that's what I do most of the summer.
I love it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
fantastic.
I love a good boat, so that's perfect.
Yeah. Sunseeker Predator. It's a really cool kind of a James Bond. I think it's in a James Bond movie.
Hell yeah.
It's just a real practical, entertaining for entertaining. There's no better boat.
Lake life is my favorite.
Yep, it's good.
It's truly the best.
That is
man.
really
my
good
God.
stuff.
But this seat where you see me sitting there on the beach there, that's my favorite seat. That's from morning, with coffee and then wine at night. That's
okay.
There you go.
Point Doom.
Yep.
Which has all the breaks.
Yeah.
And the cliff when the sun hits it in the mornings, it's like a bright red. It's pretty spectacular, that Malibu that's out there.
I love it. Well, man, Chris, this has been an absolute blast. Can't thank you enough for coming on.
Thank you guys.
Hopefully the beginning of many things.
Yeah,
We'll get you back on again.
You bet.
Unreal.
Love to.
Beautiful.
Good stuff.